Shalom, party people. Welcome to the 12th C. Mr. JD Stone rocking on my left. 50-pound rucksacks, 0530 in the AM. And we have been rucking since 3:30 this morning. We're approximately 4 miles away, give or take, from our 12-mile mark, attempting a 12-mile, 3-hour, 50-pound challenge. Mr. JD Stone?
Yes, sir.
How do you feel today?
A little bit tired.
Me too. Embrace the suck, I guess.
Yeah. More than that, though, it's my feet.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to have some serious blisterage.
Yep, working on that.
Yeah, I feel one already coming in. It's a hot spot, so. And then we're going to attempt 14 miles on a run Sunday morning, so it'll be nice to shed the weight. But I was just thinking about this. What I'm carrying around in my bag right now is what I used to weigh of me plus the bag. So.
Oh, nice.
So, at some level, my body was used to this, but it's still getting after it. So.
I'll bet you didn't go this fast, this long, though.
No, of course not.
When
But
you were weighing that.
I was pushing 240. And so, I mean, it's getting there for sure. But for those of you who have already hung on for 2 minutes and change, sound off in the comments what you're doing that's difficult. I want to see if any of you guys are actually rising to the challenge of going and doing hard things.
We think about doing hard things.
Well, apparently it takes the same energy to think about it as to do it, apparently. And I'm not just talking about like a passing thought.
Sometimes you don't even have to do it.
Well, like the same mental energy, not the physical energy. Of if you just stop complaining and start doing. It apparently sucks just as much thinking about it as it does actually doing it. So just do it.
I'd rather do it and get a dopamine hit.
There you go. Still no free dopamine either way. You gotta earn it. Which we were talking about this off camera. I have been drinking the Jocko Mölk the last few days. 100% endorsement. I am not getting paid to say it because I'm not a cool enough YouTuber to get paid for anything yet. But that Jocko Mölk is not chalky at all. It's a solid protein powder. So I endorse it for what my lack of clout is worth. So, Mr. JD Stone, what's on your mind?
I don't know, not much.
Yeah.
I think most of my oxygen is down on my legs.
Yeah. It's just about finishing right now.
Yeah.
Then. Although I woke up this morning thinking about that meme where Big Bird is driving the carriage. We ride at dawn!
Oh, way before dawn.
For sure. 0330 is well before dawn.
I would say I'm doing it for the bragging rights, but I don't tell anybody about this.
Well, Mr. Stay-at-home dad over there, you talk to your kids about it, they're either like, whoa, or so.
Yeah, I mean, they don't have any context, so there's that. But I mean, there's the guys in Jujitsu.
Yeah.
I guess I could brag to them about it, but...
Which I'm secretly hoping you get really good at Jujitsu so that way you can teach me a few things.
Oh.
So, I guess it's not a secret anymore, but... Because I'm too cheap to pay right now.
Yeah, it is expensive.
I know it is. And I've been hoping for years to find a blue belt to teach me some things. So I'm waiting on you to get your blue belt.
Oh, that's going to take a while.
I know it is. That's why I'm cheering you on from the sidelines.
Yeah, I did find out that like 4 guys live in our neighborhood.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. One of them is a blue belt.
There we go.
He's funny too. He's a little guy. So you write them off, because if I roll with a white belt of a similar skill level,
Yeah.
and I am bigger than them, I win.
Right.
That's just...
But you get into that blue belt who has the experience under you.
It's that easy, yeah. But this guy, he is strong, and yeah, he put me out. He actually put me to sleep
I bet.
a couple days ago. I was supposed to tap. I made the choice to tap, but it was too late. I was already out by the time the message got down in my hand to do it.
It's 40 degrees Fahrenheit. It's 0537. So. Whew.
Yeah, I mean, I was in a chokehold, and then the next thing I knew, I was laying out flat,
Oh gosh.
waking up, and my leg was jerking. I was like, that's not good. It's okay though. You only do that 2 or 3 times a week, and you're fine. And actually, that's the first time it's ever happened to me. So, no neural damage.
There you go. That's the spirit. One of the cars that just passed us had a headlight out, and what amazes me is somebody thought of the brilliancy of wiring your brights and your regular headlights on 2 different circuits. And it's not just an increased power, like it's a whole nother circuit.
So you can run your brights.
Right, and still have all your lights and not. And I think that's a stroke of brilliance. Whoever come up with that deserves a bonus. And that's pretty well standard on all vehicles now, so. Whew.
It is fun to think how when people specialize, they can do some really great things. And since we have such a high population, we've got people who are specializing in every possible thing.
Yes. That being said, there's some famous quote, and I don't remember who said it or the exact wordage, but it goes into like a basic human should be able to, and like they list off all of these things that have to do with being a well-rounded individual.
Yeah.
And it like even includes being able to like butcher your own meat, start a fire, and all the way down to like read poetry and analyze it, and all of this stuff.
Oh, I can do that.
Well, I know you can.
I can run a mile. I can start a fire.
Yeah.
I can carve a chicken.
Yeah, I can carve a chicken too. I can't carve it all pretty like for photos, but I can get the job done for sure. I can quarter one for darn sure. But the quote ends something to the effect of specialization is for insects.
I mean, yes and no.
And I would agree that, yes, I don't want to be so specialized that I can't do anything else. But I have always kind of been a master of none. And I can get by with most things. Most. Although I am not like Black Widow from Marvel, where, what do you guys know about quantum physics? Oh, only enough for conversation. Not that. I know some of the terms, and that's it. And I'm pretty sure I'm not using the terms right.
Yeah. Well, if it helps, most physicists don't know anything about quantum mechanics either.
That too, but it's more of the point of she had to learn it for her spycraft.
Yeah. No, I think it's legitimate to be generalist enough to get by on some things, but humans as a whole do specialize.
Oh, of course we do.
We're generalists. We're the kind of thing that can specialize in anything we choose to. So
Yeah.
that's actually a unique spot in nature. And I think that we should take advantage of that. I think that it's good for one individual to be really good at something.
Oh, of course.
Something.
Well, your whole Jean Valjean Les Mis, why is you're not your best potter making the pottery, your best painter painting, and so forth.
Yeah.
They devote their energy to what they're good at. I would articulate that is a wise
That way you play into your strengths.
yes.
And when you specialize, you can provide a gooder service
A gooder service.
that nobody else is providing.
Mr. English major, a gooder service.
Good or service.
Ah, sorry.
That's my Texan coming out. Yep, well, I'll tell you what, you just straight up doing good services.
Oh, well, sorry. Yeah, they're doing a gooder job than anybody else. Sorry.
Yeah. No, I do not think that grammatic mistake.
I do. All the time. I was just giving you beef for it. We're doing good on time. We're at 44, and we have more than covered the mile. So there's substantially less than another to go. I know we slacked off. I'm gonna hand you the camera and see if I can shift my weight just a hair.
Sure.
I have a kettlebell that is settling and has been for a while. You still rocking the books?
Yes.
Do the books hit back?
Today they are.
Yeah, I bet. Oh man,
I think it's good to be generalist enough that you appreciate the good things that you encounter in life.
For sure. Also, your BS detector needs to be good enough to know when someone's bamboozling you.
That definitely. That is a skill that should be universal. The problem is people are bamboozling so much all the time.
Yeah.
Start to ignore that warning.
Well, the general rule of thumb is trust your gut, and if it sounds too good to be true, it is.
Yes.
That's the general rule. Also, urgency. If they are putting a sense of urgency on the situation, and that comes down to sales too.
Yeah.
Because sales thrives on a sense of urgency.
Yep.
If there's a sense of urgency, then they're probably out to get you for the most part. And it's not that we should never have a fire under our behind, like we have one right now.
Yeah.
Although for me, the fire is on the soles of my feet right now.
But the high pressure you must buy now.
Right. We are not doing a right-hand turn. We're doing 12 miles. This route for us has a added hill if we want. And since we're on a time crunch, it's the same distance. Yeah, no. Because we're about to do a whole bunch of hills on this last 2 mile stretch.
Last 2 miles is brutal.
If the last 2 miles was flat, then yeah, bring it on. But we have 3 hills that are almost vertical. We don't need another one. And if you want to complain to me about, whatever, like, I thought you were pushing us to do hard things, come do 12 miles with us.
Yes. Come with us.
Yes. We'll bring snacks next time. Come on.
Or
you can come do 14 with us on Sunday.
If you're long distance, go ahead and do your own and then log it for us.
Yep. Feel free. We will cheer you on the whole way. But it's like that season finale of Fuller House where Uncle Jesse looked in the camera when he was trying to get the Olsen twins to come on down. Come join us. It'll be fun.
Yeah.
Like best fourth wall break in a sitcom, in my opinion. And I get it. The Olsen twins were super young. They don't remember much. I think they were sexually trafficked. That's a conspiracy theory, and I have very little to base it off of. But a lot of kids, young kids in Hollywood, are reporting those kind of things now.
That's awful.
Yep. A lot of the Disney kids, there's huge speculation that they were trafficked. Bella Thornton or whatever, it's come out years ago that she was raped when she was young. Which YouTube's probably already demonetized this, but not like I was monetized to begin with, so woo! Yeah, 25 subscribers, I don't get nothing. But Bella Thornton, she talks about how she was raped when she was young. And if you play with the timelines, it's basically when she was beginning Shake It Up on Disney. And there's talk that Zendaya was too. Allegedly Miley Cyrus was.
Wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, it doesn't surprise me in the least.
She's been ultra expressive.
But
that kind of screams.
Supposedly, one of the only ones who's turned out okay is Hillary Duff.
Yeah.
But basically, all of the really young ones that have gone on for a while, there's a lot of rumors that they were trafficked.
Some of that could just be salacious gossip.
I'm sure,
On
but
the other hand,
if 10% of it's true, that's huge.
on the other hand, we know that Hollywood has been super corrupt.
Well,
Pretty much ever.
there was a meme that came out about 2 years ago that was pulling up some things that Mel Gibson got in trouble for saying, and it's not his anti-Semitism, but like him calling out pedophilia in Hollywood.
Yeah.
And it was before Jeffrey Epstein, nobody would have believed this. But after Jeffrey Epstein, this is sounding more and more plausible. And it like was his whole quote on the rampant pedophilia that exists in Hollywood.
Well, which makes you kind of sick,
It does.
because we pay Hollywood.
Yes, we do.
We support it.
But Harvey Weinstein, that one was there. Kevin Spacey, no one's talking about that, and they basically let him back in. But a Family Guy brought out the Kevin Spacey pedophile stuff years ago, and everyone thought it was a joke, but it was apparently an open secret in Hollywood for a long time, and then he got caught.
Yeah.
And then about a year later, in self-rehab, he's like, I'm all better now.
Right.
That's a lie. But there was that Family Guy episode where Stewie comes running through the mall buck naked. Help, I've been trapped in Kevin Spacey's basement. Yeah. And that was years before he got caught.
Well, Weinstein was an open secret too.
Yeah. I just loved Ricky Germain doing the Oscars. He just called them out.
Gervais, yeah.
Yeah. He was, if ISIS had a film studio, all of you would be booking your agents for it.
Yeah.
Don't lie.
I watched the whole thing, and
I'm surprised he didn't get eliminated after that.
it was harsh, and the funniest thing was the look on Tom Hanks' face.
Yep.
It was like, oh my goodness, he's talking, and it's like, Tom, do you not understand that everything he's saying is based?
Yeah. But yeah, there's a lot of it out there, so I hope more of it gets exposed and people go to jail and heads roll for it, and the right heads roll and not the wrong heads.
Well, you know, they did manage to send Weinstein up a creek, but you know that there's several others.
Oh, of course. I'm gonna readjust my bag weight, and we can change topics when I catch up.
All right.
All right. We got 35 minutes to do 2 miles. I think we can do it.
I think so. I don't think I want to run down this hill, though.
Me neither. We're too tired. Hot spots on our feet. Extra weight. That's just asking for an injury. But we can have a nice gravity-assisted walk.
Yeah. We just passed the mile marker. Here we go.
Yep. Ooh. So Sunday is daylight's losing time. I know they call it daylight savings, but when you lose an hour, I don't know how that's saving anything.
I really wish they would do away with the whole thing.
I do too. There's been a national push to end it. And there's a big enough that if they call it at this one and say from this point on, daylight savings is over, I think it would be really good. The Monday after is always the highest number of heart attacks.
Yeah, people die because of this.
But I actually push it further. I think we should go to Zulu time globally. And then you just have your hours of operation based off of whatever. Because 8 a.m. it may be midnight for you, but it's like you just have local hours that are adjusted. But international flights and shipping and business across time zones would be so much easier because then everyone agrees on what time it is.
That's true.
But if you did that, then you would also have a huge argument for being international on the metric system.
Yeah.
And America will never give up them freedom units. So
yeah.
Even though the scientific community is 100% in the metric system anyway, and all of our customary units are metric based now.
Yeah, I mean, you can talk about Zulu time, but you might as well push for base 12 and everybody learn Esperanto too.
Well, but if it was baby steps, you know.
Yeah. And then, I mean, the minute you do any of that stuff, you're going to have a whole bunch of good old boys yelling about the New World Order. And
right. But if you're living in a society where you're shipping things globally and you're having conference calls, minimum across time zones, if not across countries.
Yeah. Which we are, and we're doing more of that now than before.
Yeah, I mean, at my job, we have conference calls across time zones all the time, and my job is like completely run inside of a single state that does not cross any time zones.
Yeah.
So, I mean, but we still interact with other entities outside.
Yeah.
So it's not that those entities are like required, but it's how we sharpen our skills of we keep contact with consultants and other agencies so that way we aren't falling behind.
Yeah. We have started
Up the hill.
The first serious grade for the last 2 miles.
Woot woot.
And it is beginning to lighten in the sky.
Yeah, it's actually pretty obvious on the camera now. I know you haven't been holding,
Yeah.
but if you check my screen, it's actually starting to look like daylight.
Yeah. You can hear geese in the background.
Woo. I just want you to know the ducks at the park are free. Right hand turn.
Okay.
Let's catch our breath. But yeah, look at that. You actually can see the sky.
Yeah. It started relatively warm.
Yeah, it got cold on us for a hot minute.
I actually took off my hat for the first 5 miles.
Me too.
But it got windy and the temperature dropped, so we had to put that gear back on. Now I'm very glad that I brought my gloves.
It wasn't cold enough for me to want gloves the whole time, but there was about 2 miles that I did. Everything else has been okay. But the hat and the hood are much appreciated.
There's a few more cars here and there.
Yeah.
Starting to go to work.
For sure. Okay, so we've done T-Rexes and chickens last time.
Yes.
Dogs or cats?
Would I rather fight a dog or a cat?
No, just as preferred animals.
I used to think that I was a dog person. Now I think I'm more of a fish person or a lizard person. Maybe a spider person.
Contained pets?
Yeah, ones that don't really do much and don't really require anything.
You
of
need
me.
a platypus. They don't really do much.
I thought they did everything. They're a little bit of this, a little bit of that.
It's a semi-aquatic egg-laying mammal of action. He's an inaction figure. He doesn't do anything. Were your kids in that Phineas and Ferb generation?
No, I think I missed it, but I do think that I saw one episode or two, and then it was actually surprisingly good.
I wish Phineas and Ferb had been around when I was a kid. I've seen every episode multiple times. And then the one nobody knows about, Milo Murphy's Law. It's a sequel series. It takes place in the same town, just across town. The main voice actor is Weird Al.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And the premise is he's the great-great-great-grandson of the original Murphy from Murphy's Law. Of anything that can go wrong will. And he...
Did you know that's not actually Murphy's Law?
So what is the real Murphy's Law?
The real Murphy's Law is anything that can happen will.
Ah, gotcha. Not the go wrong, but the...
Yeah. That's just a pessimistic interpretation of it, but it is a legitimate interpretation.
Well, it's the complete pessimistic one is anything that can go wrong will go wrong at the most inopportune time.
Yeah. And that also can fit. It's just that it won't go wrong at the most inopportune time every time.
Right. It could go right at the most opportune time.
Yeah. And that also happens, and that also falls under the purview of Murphy's Law. So,
The more you know.
Yeah, you can be optimistic about it, but I don't like to be.
Right. Well, there's so many different forms of optimism. I like cautious optimism because then you're not just throwing everything out there hoping that it's going to get better. It's that you're hopeful, but you're realistic about things too.
Well, you want to stack your odds in your favor as much as possible.
May the odds be ever in your favor. Which those were books that I was actually kind of mad about the films. Like, they weren't bad, but they had so much potential.
Well, the books there were so many different things going on. And
the biggest complaint I've heard is that they needed to be rated R.
Oh, well, yeah.
But I think if they had made it R, they would have put a lot of unnecessary sex. Because the books are not sex heavy for Hunger Games. Like, there's some implied, but that's really about it.
Well, talking about trafficking,
Well,
that was
Finnick's story, but yes. The first two, though, are not, but...
in the second one, Katniss shares a bed with Peeta.
Yeah,
often,
but sex is not implicit in there. Like, everyone thinks they're together, but they're not.
Yeah, I think it might have been explicitly that they didn't do anything.
As far as I recall, you were correct.
And it was a textbook trauma response.
Right.
But who knows how Hollywood would handle that.
Right.
But like I was saying, there were so many different things going on with the book, so many things that Suzanne Collins was trying to say.
Yeah.
At the same time.
I thought the books were just such a good social commentary, and the films were not.
The films, they had to pick one line, one storyline to, one message to
Right.
be into. And I do think that they picked the most important one.
Yes.
The anti-authoritarian one.
But anti-authoritarian is so overdone now. And it wasn't overdone at the time, but...
Yeah, they could have, well, part of it was because of the Hunger Games. They did that, and well, we got to jump in on that with Divergent and Maze Runner and all this other stuff.
A dystopian future where it's a teenage girl and she has multiple love interests? Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Novel idea. Which it wasn't a true novel idea with Suzanne Collins or anything, but she was still ahead of the curve, but not like cutting edge.
She was almost too far ahead of the curve because I don't think it did very well on release. It caught on by word of mouth.
I remember when the first book came out, and it was still popular. Scholastic did a good job of marketing it, but you're right, it wasn't like overnight success. But I was familiar with the book about 3 years before I picked it up.
Nice.
And I picked it up as the movie was being announced. I was like, I've heard about this for a long time, and everyone I know who's read it loved it. So I'm going to go ahead and see if I can finish the series before the first movie comes out.
Yeah.
And I had plenty of time. And the praise in the favor of the first Hunger Games book, chapter books for me, long chapter books for me, usually take me a little while. I finished that first book in 6 hours.
Yeah, it is very well paced. It is a banger of a book.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
The Catching Fire is not as good, and I don't know why.
The pacing's different, yes.
I have read it. I read it twice.
I think
tried to figure out what's
I
different.
think it's because Catching Fire is 2 stories trying to be one. That's what I think.
That's possible.
Arguably, John Wick 2 is the same way. The first half of John Wick 2 is really the back half of John Wick 1. And the back half of John Wick 2 is really the front half of John Wick 3. I don't know if you're familiar with those films.
I am not.
You are missing out.
I know.
They are not safe for children by any means, but...
I've heard good things about it. I just haven't done it.
But I actually didn't like the second John Wick movie because it was 2 separate stories.
Yeah.
And like there is a clear break on where it should end, and it's not that it's like a story that even has resolution per se. It's just like where the rising action ends and the climax basically begins, is where it should break, but it would be too short to be a standalone film. So it wasn't drug out, it was just it would have been a great mini-series, but the first John Wick is Dante's Inferno, just set in a crime fiction world, modern crime fiction. And the second John Wick is Hercules' 12 Labors. And I don't remember what the third one is, because I haven't seen the third John Wick all the way through.
I really don't like Inferno. It's a great piece of art. It's a wonderful poem.
Right.
It did really awful things for theology.
Oh, of course it did. But I don't get my theology from Dante's Inferno.
You don't.
A lot of people do.
Does.
Yep.
And it was intentional. He wanted to redeem
Greek philosophy and
Roman tradition.
Yeah.
The heathen tradition. The Romans had felt, the Italians had felt for the longest time that because Christianity was a Semitic religion and it supplanted the heathen tradition, that they felt ashamed of their heritage and wanted to redeem it, which is, I mean, that's a noble thing, but could you maybe do it?
Readjust my weight. Keep talking.
Do it maybe with a secular work. Inferno had such obvious. I mean, it was supposed to be a Christian allegory, but it turned into a heathen one, masquerading as a Christian one, which just got confusing. It confused everybody. So.
Well, most people's perception, you're exactly right, of heaven and hell comes from that, whether they know it or not, whether they've read it or not. Like literally every work of prose about heaven and hell since then has paid homage to it.
And that's everything from serious work to
Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny.
Yep.
It's all, I don't know, it's what's set in the public consciousness, and it's a very different idea of the entire nature of sin and hell and punishment and all of that stuff. That's where you start to get people confused about a vengeful God, and it's incorrect.
Well, God has wrath, though.
Oh, he does.
And and I'm not saying a vengeful God, but I am saying, like, I seriously think our society does not have a healthy understanding of that. What is it? Exodus 15:3, I think. Yahweh is a warrior. Yahweh is his name. Like he, and I'm maybe incorrect on I'll throw the correct reference in the description for anyone who's stuck it out for 44 minutes, which I don't think anyone except for me boosting my own views, but I'm pretty sure it's Exodus 15:3. Like he wasn't messing around when he was talking about slaughtering the Canaanites.
Oh yeah, but they were awful people.
Well, there's even speculation that they were descendants of Nephilim, and it was eradicating a bloodline as well that was not supposed to exist. That's all speculation. Definitely sacrificing their children to Molech was unacceptable.
Oh hey, we do that now.
Yeah. But it's not open. It's still, but apparently there are some abortionists who are legitimate while the woman's under, are bringing out Moloch idols.
Really?
It's very rare, but there's 2 that have been ousted for it already.
No way.
Yeah,
That sounds like satanic panic.
it is. I'm sure there's more than 2 that have been ousted, but there's 2 that I'm aware of that have been ousted for it. And whether
I need links.
I'll find them.
I need to know if these are credible sources.
They're probably not. It's probably the National Enquirer, but I'll find them, and if I find them, I'll throw them in the description of this video too.
Sure.
But
you don't have to bring out the literal idols, though. It's still a sacrifice.
Yeah.
Child sacrifice to God of pleasure.
exactly.
Which I don't even think most people who have an abortion think of it that way.
Well,
It's
I don't think the women who are going in and getting abortions are in droves thinking about that.
It's usually a choice that they don't want to make. But it is a sacrifice to impulse control.
Right.
And you can even talk about, the women who were raped or pressured into it. That's a whole societal sin, though.
Right.
That makes us responsible, not just her. Because we let the revolution happen.
But the thing is nobody's really even talking about abortion in the cases of rape and incest anymore. Everybody's talking about it just because. And yes, by definition, abortion is technically a form of birth control. But treating it as birth control is where the debate should be.
If you can call abortion a form of birth control, you can also call Zyklon B a form of birth control.
You are correct, and that is why I'm saying semantics. But what it actually is abortion is murder, wholeheartedly. And if it was just a safe, legal, and rare debate, I think the debate would have some level of, okay, we can talk this out. I'm not saying it's right because I'm against abortion, but I am saying that I think it would be a rational debate if it was safe, legal, and rare is where the debate was. But the debate currently is legal versus illegal. And anytime, and I'm against that. So
yeah, well, it's in the state's hands right now, which I think is where it should be anyway.
It should be, yes. But the biggest problem, and Tim Pool brings this up all the time, is why is it a state's issue when you can literally have 2 parents who agree to have a kid, one parent changes their mind and flees without the consent of the other and gets the abortion in another state? How do you enforce that? Is that abduction? Because it should be considered that. So how are you going to settle those kind of things if it is just a truly states issue? I don't know, but we need to be having those conversations.
Well, it's going to hit the courts.
Yes, but
it's going to happen, and then they'll hash it out.
That's where we need a cultural turning where people come back to an agreed set of principles. And that's where the strong families, or strong individuals make strong families make strong neighborhoods make strong towns make strong cities make strong states, or strong counties make strong states make a strong nation. And it's where I encourage people at the individual level to get themselves better, get their house in order, and then maybe we can take this country back in a bloodless revolution where people are coming back to a sense of unity and sanity, because both sides are crooked.
Oh yeah, easily.
We have 9 minutes to go to the end of this street, back and down the hill. I think we can do it.
I think so. It has not been easy though.
No, it has not. This last 4 has been very brutal. I've got a ton of hot spots now.
Yeah.
You?
Oh yeah.
But yeah, we've got decent light now. Ooh. All right, let's pick one more topic to end it on.
Oh gosh. So, been on my mind a bit,
Let's
quite
hear
a
it.
bit, is the portrayal of, well, the direction of, women's role. The pay gap, all of the reasons for it, the cultural pushback this way, that way, the other way. For me, specifically, I'm noticing it in literature, in popular reading. The authors, they want to put women in more leadership roles, more professional roles, all of that thing. Even in, it stands out most in fantasy, like sword and sorcery fantasy, stuff like that, because those are cultures that are supposed to be more, they seem to be more feudal.
For sure.
At least closer to feudalism. And
well, with feudalism, it's your count that votes. So instead of your vote that counts.
Right. But I mean, that's a different model for the home and things. And so I was thinking in this most recent one that I read, if the women are in all of these professional roles, that means that they're not raising kids. Which, that's what they want. That's what the cultural push is.
So are you saying you should see more societal collapse in those types of novels? we don't know what's going to happen for ours, because the push for women to be in these professional roles and explicitly not in the home, that hasn't come all the way down the pipe yet. We don't know the consequences yet. But yeah, I do suspect that would mean that there are lower birth rates in those cultures, and that is going to be eventual economic collapse, because you're going to have the older generations aging out, just like the boomers are doing right now. Yeah. And those are just consequences that nobody's thinking about in the long term with their world building. Yeah. And they're not thinking about it in their world building, in their fiction, because they're not thinking about it in real life either. And that's no judgment, like this. Right. If you want to pick that, well, that's okay. In a pre-antibiotics society, what's the birth rate necessary to have stable population?
Yeah,
That's my question.
there is a point.
Like
to that.
all sexism aside, of just you have to, like you're gonna have kids dying before the age of 5. So how many kids do you have to have a stable population? Not even growth, just.
Yeah, well,
And then you have them dying from warfare too. So you don't have a lot of people living past 40.
And then famine is another one.
Which there seems to be a lot of healthy, well-fed societies in these sword and sorcery fantasies.
Yeah, and there is some justification for that. You can say if there's magic, especially if it's a high magic, meaning a lot of magic in this culture, you don't know how
that affects
using
their crop production
to supplement their economy and their birth rates and all that stuff. And maybe that's just something that
they don't have a lot of infant mortality because there's a high magic. They're keeping more kids alive.
Yeah,
maybe.
But it would be interesting if the fiction writers covered that.
Yeah, considered.
At least referenced it.
Yeah.
But that's just a detail that people aren't thinking about.
Well, 100 years ago,
short term,
your kid living past 5 was a coin flip. So.
Yeah. Gosh, what a brutal time.
Yeah.
We truly are living in the best of times.
It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. Because we have society falling apart and everyone's able to live
We're doing it very comfortably.
Yes, a comfortable fall apart.
But it's the funny thing in this. The people today are talking about how bad it was before for women, how undervalued they were. But they're assuming that back then they put the same low value on motherhood and children that we do now.
Well, why does chivalry put such a high value on honoring women if they kept putting them down back then? I don't know. That's above my pay grade. That's above my pay gap.
Yeah, I think, and also the other thing that bothers me about this whole narrative of how awful it was for women before was that means you're selling the women of those eras very, very short.
You are.
Do you think that you are the first woman to have ambition, to have important thinky thoughts?
I'm sure Jane Eyre was.
Oh yeah, the Bronte sisters. That's where it started.
100%. Yeah, before that, I don't know.
No,
and
women have been
1, 2, 3, 12 miles.
Done. No, yeah, women have been pulling the strings for a lot longer than anybody. From the beginning, from the outset, from the caves, they've been doing that, and they don't get the official credit. But they've been ghostwriting history for the entire time.
In a good way and in a bad way.
Yeah,
in both.
It goes both ways.
100%.
But to claim that women never had any power is to claim that women weren't making full use of their resources, and that's not true. That's just my rant. That's my opinion.
No, you're good.
But it's buried at the end of this long
It's okay.
one.
I'll watch it because
else.
I boost my numbers. But yeah. Thanks for joining us. Go do hard things.
Hard things.